The Jets are a hot mess, so let's look ahead to 2020. This is my version 1.0 of our rebuild.
Jets, Jets, Jets!
Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot today. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Guys, this is going to be my version 1.0 of the Jets 2020 rebuild. I'm going to do a few of these over the next few months, so hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification so you know when I come out with a new video. All right, the first move of the offseason everyone's going to be talking about is Adam Gase. Right after that last game, is he going to be fired? Are we going to be looking for a new head coach? I'm here to tell you my thoughts. I think based on the history that I've seen with the Johnson family, they are very cheap when it comes to head coaches, when it comes to offensive coordinators, when it comes to GM, scouting department, all those sorts of things. So my heart of hearts, while I think Gase should be gone, I have a hunch that we are going to hold on to him. I don't see the Johnson family wanting to pay another head coach. If you don't know, head coaches' contracts are fully guaranteed. So Todd Bowles' contract technically goes through the end of 2020, so we're still paying him. Adam Gase's contract would obviously go through the duration of his deal, and then we would bring in a new head coach. I don't see the Johnsons wanting to pay 3 head coaches. The other option, I guess, would be to promote Greg Williams to head coach, and then maybe you give him a bump in salary and bring in an offensive coordinator. But for the sake of keeping things level across the board, I think the Jets are going to hold on to Gase. They're going to keep Greg Williams as the defensive coordinator, and they're just going to try and reshuffle some pieces. Now, I should mention I'm not huge on the idea of Sam Darnold being in his third system in his third year. So that's another reason why I think we have to kind of let this play out. And I am the skeptic of all skeptics when it comes to Adam Gase, because you're looking at Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee, and he looks to be playing pretty well. So I have a hard time buying in with Adam Gase. So if we will move on from him, I'm all for it. I just don't see the Johnsons doing that. All right, now we go into the offseason talking about cuts that could save us salary cap space. Obviously, Trumaine Johnson has been an issue for this Jets secondary. It's been one of the worst contracts that we've had in recent times. We're going to cut him. We're going to save $11 million. $11 million of his contract would be guaranteed if he's on the roster as of the third day of the new league year. So Trumaine Johnson, you're out of here. Brian Winters, our right guard, saves us $7.5 million. You're out of here. Look for a replacement for him. Darryl Roberts, $6 million in savings. You're out of here as well. That puts the Jets at $85 million in cap space. Now, the Jets could look to move on from Avery Williamson. That would save us an additional $6.5 million in cap space. Although with the injuries to inside linebacker this past year, I would prefer us hold on to Williamson, at least until we figure out that his salary might be preventing us from signing someone else. If he's not preventing us from signing a free agent, I think we should definitely hold on to him. I like the guy. I like the combination of him and Mosley in the middle. Now let's talk about some of the free agents that the Jets are going to have to re-sign. Robbie Anderson was a trade bait topic at the trade deadline. He was on the second-round tender this past year. I do think we want to keep some continuity with Sam. 3 years, $27 million, $9 million a year. That's about what you got Quincy Enunwa for. So I would be all for that. He is kind of a one-trick pony. He's going to be your number 2 wide receiver, and for that price point, that's really not that bad when you see what other guys are getting. I don't trust him to jump up and get a ball. I think he could be out-muscled by other guys, but I think as far as a weapon, you keep continuity with Sam, you lock him up for 3 years, you build in some contingencies in case some things go off the rails, in case you don't trust him with money. But I would look forward to bringing back Robbie in this situation. Up next is Demaryius Thomas. He signed for just over $2 million with the Patriots. I'm going to highball this. We're going to say we give him $5 million. He's going to have to pay a little bit more because we are the Jets and not, a Super Bowl contending team. But I think he would be a good number 4 wide receiver. I think you keep some continuity with Sam. I think that's kind of important. It doesn't really affect us long term. Hold on to him for 1 more year. Alex Lewis has done a pretty good job filling in for us at left guard. I would give him 1 year, $4 million. Worry about replacing him in a year. I think he's a good stopgap for right now. Up next is Brian Poole, the slot corner for us. He has done a great job coming in as a free agent. I'm going to give him the same deal that Kenny Moore from the Colts got, 4 years, $33 million. It's a little over $8 million a year. You would get him for maybe a $9 million cap hit to start, and then everything else from that wouldn't be guaranteed. So you could cut him in any one of those next 3 years. But Brian Poole comes back and is our slot corner. Up next, we got Jordan Jenkins. He has been a very good edge setter for the Jets. He has not been, a crazy sack artist in his time here, but I think he is an all-around solid outside linebacker. I gave him 3 years, $24 million. Dante Fowler had a 1 year, $12 million deal. You're getting more production out of Fowler from a behind the line of scrimmage sacks and tackles for loss in that respect. So I think Jenkins is going to be a little bit cheaper than that. I think $8 million a year is sort of the sweet spot for him. I look forward to having him for the next 3 years. Up next, we got some special teams guys. We have Lachlan Edwards, 2 years, $4 million, $2 million a year. Lock in your punter. Sam Ficken, he's an exclusive rights free agent. 1 year, $500,000 is what the Jets are going to wind up getting him for. Now, after all that, the Jets are sitting at about $49 million in cap space. You need about $14 million just to sign your draft class, so effectively the Jets are going to have about $35 million in cap space to spend on free agents. The biggest areas of concern when we look at free agency are going to be our cornerbacks and our offensive line. Obviously, this is going to be a huge deal for the Jets. The Jets are not a desirable location in terms of where free agents would choose to go unless we're overpaying for players. So that's unfortunately what I have us doing. I have us going after two big fish. You have Brandon Sheriff, the guard from the Redskins. Now, I'm not entirely sure he's going to break free from Washington. I think Trent Williams, their tackle, is going to get traded. They have a young quarterback in Haskins. I think they could roll the dice and franchise him if they can't work out a long-term deal. But let's say he shakes loose. The Jets get him for 4 years, $60 million. That makes him the highest paid guard in the league right after Brandon Brooks, who just got 4 years, $56 million or whatever. So Jets lock in their right guard of the future. The second big fish I have us going after is Byron Jones, the cornerback from the Dallas Cowboys. With Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper likely getting long-term extensions after this season, there's going to be a few players from Dallas that are going to shake loose. Byron Jones is a great corner to have. I think you add some youth at a very big position of need for the Jets. You pay a premium here, 4 years, $15 million a year, $60 million total. Jets get a corner for their secondary. Just before the draft, we're going to get our first major wrinkle of the Jets' Joe Douglas era. The Jets were fielding calls for Jamal Adams at the trade deadline. Jamal has played out of his mind since then. I think we see a trade with Jamal. We're going to wind up sending him to Dallas. I think we get at least a first-round pick. My buddy Matt O'Leary had a pretty spot-on trade value, I think. First-round pick, third-round pick this year. And a third-round pick next year. I think that's roughly what we'll get for him. We could see a little bit higher, could see a little bit lower, but I think that's a safe estimate right there. In that situation, we're going to say Dallas has roughly the 25th pick. So on to the draft. Last year, 5 and 11 would have netted you the 5th or 7th overall pick, roughly depending on your strength of schedule. Jets have a bad strength of schedule, so we're going to say they have the 5th overall pick. In this situation, the Bengals have the first pick, Redskins, Giants, Dolphins to follow, then the Jets. So I think Herbert or Burrow is going to be the quarterback taken for the Bengals at number 1. You got the Redskins with Andrew Thomas. They're going to try and replace Trent Williams on the left side of that line. Chase Young, the outstanding defensive end from Ohio State, is going to go to the Giants, who passed on Josh Allen last year. Their defense needs a lot of help. Tua is going to go to the Dolphins at the 4th overall spot. I think the Dolphins are clearly in on the quarterback game. They get their franchise quarterback in Tua. Now, of course, this is kind of a shot in the gut for the Jets because off the top of my head, I really want Andrew Thomas or Chase Young, but I think because of our strength of schedule and where we wind up falling, I think we're going to be at that 5th pick. I think both those guys are going to be gone. You're going to have a few interesting situations here. You could have seen maybe the Giants or Redskins trade out to a team that's looking to leapfrog the Miami Dolphins for a quarterback. In this situation, we're going to say everyone stays put. The Jets are now looking at either Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, or the tackle out of USC, Austin Jackson. With Joe Douglas's scouting background and his offensive line background, I have us taking Austin Jackson, the left tackle. We lock down that position for the next 10 years. You plug him in and forget about him. Now, I'm all about this. I think you got to protect Sam. I think that is first and foremost the number one goal of this offseason. As we get to the back half of the first round, we have Dallas's first round pick that we acquired in the Jamal Adams trade. I have us taking the wide receiver out of Liberty, Antonio Gandy Golden. This guy is an absolute freak, 6'4", 220 pounds. The guy can outmuscle anyone for a ball. He high points the ball. Seriously, take a look at this guy. He's going to be really good. Now, there is question marks because of the competition level that he played. I think if the Dallas pick winds up falling closer to maybe number 20, the Jets could look for Justin Jackson, the wide receiver out of LSU, 6'3", 190 pounds or so. Both guys will create an absolute matchup nightmare for the Jets. I think we solidify our wide receiving core and we give Sam Darnold a weapon moving forward. We get to the Jets' second round pick. I have the Jets selecting the Wisconsin center, Tyler Biadasz. I obviously think this is a huge area of concern. We have not had a good center since Nick Mangold left us. And you plug in the best center in college football directly into our offensive line. So now you have a left tackle, center, and right guard that you've freshly revamped. This offensive line is brand new. Le'Veon Bell is going to benefit from this whole situation. Sam Darnold's going to have more time to throw to his receivers. I think this is absolutely a huge must-need position for the Jets in the top 2 rounds of this draft. Now, because we traded Jamal Adams and Leonard Williams, we wound up with 3 third-round picks. I have us packaging one of those third-round picks with a 4th-round pick to move up into the back half of the 2nd round. We select edge rusher out of Michigan State, Kenny Willekes. Might have pronounced that wrong, but Jets get an edge rusher. Hopefully this turns out better than our Ja'Kai Polite pick. The guy seems to have moves. He's got a pretty good motor. I would love to see the Jets hit gold with this pick here. As we get into the 3rd round, I think we look at cornerback again. Bless Austin has done very well in the short time that we've seen him. I don't necessarily trust him to be healthy, so I think we hit cornerback here. Lavert Hill, the cornerback from Michigan. The guy seems to have a good amount of moves. I think he could play slot as well as the outside. So in the event that there's an injury, we have some flexibility there. I like that pick here. With our final 3rd-round pick, I have the Jets taking the heir apparent to Jamal Adams in Alohi Gilman, the safety out of Notre Dame. The guy can play up against the run. He can play in coverage. I think you're not going to get the same caliber of player that you have with Jamal Adams, obviously, but I think he is more than sufficient, and I think the weapons that we've added to the offensive side of the ball are going to help us way more than Jamal Adams alone on the defense. As far as the rest of the draft goes, it's tough to kind of decide who I'd like. I would go with anyone who has really good talent that may have fallen due to character traits or injury or something like that, guys that have a really high upside. So what does our roster look like after all these key additions and this offseason? You have a new safety to replace Jamal Adams. You have an edge rusher to hopefully get some pressure on the quarterback. You have a new cornerback in Jones on the outside to replace Tremaine Johnson. You get Gandy Golden, a stud number 1 receiver, 6'4", big frame to help Sam Darnold out in the the red zone, any type of ball that's within an arm's reach. This guy's going to catch it. You have 3 brand new offensive linemen, guys that are top draft picks, guys that are rock solid. Hopefully you can rebuild this offensive line in one quick offseason. You help out Le'Veon Bell. Sam Darnold's going to have more time to get to his weapons. I think this is the quickest way for the Jets to do a rebuild. Don't forget to tune in for the next version of these rebuilds. This is version 1.0. Let me know what you guys thought down below. And as always, go Jets.